In this episode, you will learn the first steps on Foundation Models Framework. You'll learn how to configure a session, what is a Generable, what is a guide, and also we will create a food calorie estimator. Let's get started. Before starting, let me remind you that if you want to use Foundation Models Framework, you need Xcode 26 and above, macOS Tahoe and above, and also you need to enable Apple Intelligence. If this is not available in your country, I'm sorry. Okay, right now this app is empty, but the idea will be to add in more and more functionality in coming episodes. The plan is to create a food calorie tracker, because I love eating, but also I prefer to stay healthy. And I would like to keep my calorie track of every single meal that I'm eating. The thing here is that I don't have anything to show, but if I want to add something in this screen, the plan will be to add a food. I can just type whatever is the food here, let's say banana, apple, or a burger, and then using Foundation Models Framework on device and do the calculation for me. I think this is a pretty good use case, so something that is not too complicated to do, but also not something that I can do because I don't have any idea how to calculate calories. That is also the point of Foundation Models Framework, using it on device and for maybe, let's call it simpler cases than using OpenAI or Cloud or whatever other more sophisticated API with AI models. Here, I think is good enough for some particular use cases, but not for, let's say, auto-completing code or something like that. Actually, Apple recommend that. Maybe in the future that will be improving, but right now in this first version, let's keep it simple. My opinion, this is a good idea. Maybe others could say that I should use other kind of approaches, but for the purpose of the video, I think it's good. As I said, the only parameter here is just the food name, and it could be anything, but we are not adding any value to keep the calories or so, because that will done by the Foundation Models Framework. Okay, that's a start. How can we do it? Well, here I added this food calorie estimator that right now is empty. And the first step will be, of course, creating a Foundation Models session. How can I do it? Well, the first step will be like creating a class or something that will invoke this instance. But let's keep it simple for now to show you something else that introduced by Xcode 26, which is playgrounds. First, let me import playgrounds here. And there is a new macro called playgrounds. There you go. Playgrounds work similar to what is a preview for SwiftUI views. It will create a canvas here, and here basically you can test code right away without creating a dedicated playground or do other kind of stuff. So quickly, without running the app, you can test anything you want. In this case, let me test a session for creating Foundation Models Framework. I'm gonna start like session equal to, and by the way, I have to import Foundation models. There you go. Now let's create session, language model session. This is the most basic way to do it. Okay, the session is there. What's next? Well, we can now simply create a result. That result and say session.response to. And this is the most basic way to do it. Just giving a prompt and getting a response. Now, this response method, it's an asynchronous method, so you need to use a wait, and also it's throwable because your response may be not generated for many reasons that we're going to discuss right now and in following videos. So let's mark it as try. Now, what is a good prompt here? Basically, anything you want, like ChatGPT or so. In this case, I'm going to test it with give me the top 3 largest countries in the world. And I'm going to print it right here, result. And then to get the actual response, we're going to use content, which is a string. That's it. Now, let's test what we got. Look that I'm not basically running it yet. It's just in this canvas. Okay, the session is working, and there you go. It took 4.7 seconds, and this is the response. Let me make this a little bit wider. Okay, the top three largest countries are Russia, Canada, and China. Great. Okay, now that we know that this is working, let me change the prompt. Instead of this, let's use this one. Now we'll ask the calculation of the approximate calories count for meal with name banana. And this is basically what we got, right? So it says that a medium banana is around 105 calories. Okay, that's good. But the problem is, if we want to build something like I show you at the beginning, a calorie counter, and then grabbing the information of the banana and putting it into a calorie property, well, how should we do it? Because right now we have a bunch of text here. So should we parse calories? So it will be virtually impossible to do it. Or some people could say, hey, let's just ask the AI model to generate it as a JSON format. But the problem is that those models are not deterministic, meaning that the answer will change a little bit depending on many circumstances. So that's not a good idea at all, and Apple is not recommending that. Actually, the best way to do it is to use an actual model, a struct, and then providing that model to Foundation's model, and then asking something, but given the context of that the response should be something in terms of a struct or something that we define. That will be the best way and the way to do it. So instead of parsing this, that it doesn't make sense, honestly, let's do that. And for that, we're going to create a model. We're going to go here and we're going to create a model called meal. And we're going to create a model. So simply, we're going to create a meal with just a name, an ID, because this will be part of the list that we saw. Well, the list that was empty at the beginning. So we need this to be identifiable. That will be just the simple idea of the meal. But where is the calories? So for that, we're going to create a second model. And this will be the nutritional information. Because right now we want calories, but maybe in the future we want something else. For that, we're going to create another model here. We're going to call it nutritional information. There we go. Let's create a struct with nutritional information. There we go. And calories. That will be simply an int for now. This is what we want to generate from Foundation's model. But how can we ask the model to generate this particular struct for us? Well, first, we're going to need import Foundation models, and we're going to mark this struct as Generable. Automatically, this is a macro, and it will generate a lot of code for us that right now we don't care. But the point will be to be compatible with what Foundation models understand as a response for any prompt. With this simple macro, now we can provide this information to Foundation's model and say, hey, instead of just generating a bunch of text, we want that the response should be transformed into this struct. And this is magical. I don't know. I love this. But there is more. We can also provide some context to the model to say, what is this property? And for that, we just simply need to use this guide macro. This guide is providing additional information to the model. In this case, we are saying that this is the estimated calories of a food. And maybe here could be redundant, but this is just for demos purposes. So just to give you the idea that you can also provide more information to the model. Now, there are several limitations with Generable. One is the amount of types that this thing supports. In 2025 and part of 2026, we support only ints, strings, arrays, and other types that also support Generable. But the primitives that are supported are just ints and strings. For example, I tried to use dates and it's not supported yet. So I think in the future, I'm going to support more and more types. But just keep that in mind. And that's one of the reasons why I also had to split the implementation of models into two. For example, I want to keep this meal to be separated from the actual model that I want to generate for two things. One is for simplicity, but also for keeping the actual generable models in one way, and also to improve the speed of the response. Because the more types, the more properties you add here, or the more complex is your model, the slower will be your response. So keep that in mind. It is also important to limit the number of tokens you're going to use, etc. But overall, keep it simple, or don't generate something that you're not fully using in your UI or in your business logic. Also, let me tell you one thing: the order of the properties matter. So here, if I had 3, 4, 5 properties in this struct, the model will take care first of the one at the top, meaning that if it's more important for you to fully generate or telling the model to focus on specific properties, the most important should be at the top. That is one of the rules that I learned from the Foundation Models Framework from TopTopDC 25. Okay, now let's go back to meal. And here, we're simply going to generate the nutritional information. It's that simple. Now, why is this property optional? Because again, the model could fail and you need to be prepared for that. So don't assume that your response will be always generated. So you need to validate your code for a lot of error cases that we're going to watch in a coming episode. So don't forget to subscribe and give your like, because that will help me to make more content. Thank you. Okay, now it's time to go back to the food calorie estimator. I'm gonna get rid of this and I'm going to add the food calorie estimator implementation. Okay, the first property is of course the session. Here we saw that this is the main source of connection with the language model. And we are just initializing this when we create a new instance of this food calorie estimator. And simply here we have the method to estimate calories. We are providing a meal that just contains name, and we are expecting to return, in this case, not a string, but a nutritional information model. Now, here I'm making a lot of assumptions that someone will validate my estimated calories method, but you can here generate an optional or turn an error directly, etc. So it's up to you how you want to validate this error handling. But here we're gonna call the session, and instead of using response to with a prompt with a basic string, now instead we are providing generating, and generating will require a type. So basically what we are asking the model is to generate a nutritional information model. So the response, if you click here, it's just a response that, well, it's a generic response, but under the hood is getting nutritional information, which is the one we want here. And what is the prompt? This is another way to generate the prompt. Is using result builders that you can watch a video about it if you're interested. But basically, you can put piece of string code, like creating SwiftUI views, but here for strings. And right now, the prompt here is the same. Calculate the approximate calories count for meal with name and provided a name. And once this is done, now we got the response, and the content in this case, let me make it a little bit here. The content in this case is not a string, but you can see it is nutritional information. Now it's time to call this estimate calories. Let me show you how to do it. And for that, I put some warning to do's here to remind me how to implement this later. Let me ring a lot of code here that was hidden. Put this on save, which will be a meal. I'm gonna call the estimator right here, which will be like a normal state property. We are going to call this generate nutrition information from a task, and this will be the one that will do the work. So here we're gonna display a loading indicator. We're gonna create a meal. We're gonna ask for estimating the calories, and we're gonna save it through a closure that the parent view will receive. And we're gonna dismiss this view. Let me remove this. There we go.
2,000 years later.
Okay, looks like everything is fine. Now, let's run this code. Okay, let's go here. And I'm going to add a banana. Okay, the date is July 25th. If I click on it, it's estimating the calories. And, what is going on? Okay, this is something that I want to talk in another episode. But for some reason, sometimes I'm getting this guardrail violation. The model framework is protective in case it's detecting that something is not appropriated for introducing into the model. So if you introduce bad words or crazy things in your prompts, that error will be thrown. But in this case, I don't know, a banana, I wouldn't consider that a banana has a problem. I think, in my opinion, that should be a problem from this beta model. I'm using right now XO26 beta 2, and that's why you can see several issues about it. But it's good to get this on real time. Let me try with another burger. Let's see. It's not working. Okay, apple. Okay, let me say 2 scrambled eggs for breakfast. Okay, it's working. Yeah, this is one of the limitations from this foundation models framework. I don't know what happened. Not implemented. I don't know what I did there. But you got the point. So it got 2 scrambled eggs and it got me 150 calories. But you saw that I introduced a burger and it's not responding properly, although it is a pretty accurate response. Why is this happening? Again, I don't have the answer, but I think the model is pretty strict on the way to introduce or throw in errors. I'm not sure exactly. I need to investigate more and receiving a response from Apple about it because I'm really curious why. Let me try another. Let's say ramen. Okay, 650. Okay, it's a little bit caloric. Let me add one more. And I will light my favorite meal in the world. A plate of green chilaquiles. Come on. It's not working. Looks like chilaquiles are really offensive to this model. Come on, dude. Okay, carne asada. Okay, let's put 3 tacos of carne asada. It's not working. Okay, one last try. Let's put simply spaghetti. Nope, not working. Sandwich. Not working either. A regular Coke. Not working. Chocolate. Ice cream. Okay, this one is working, but you saw several issues. Of course, this is not a real application yet. I need to do several tweaks here, but you got the point. So be careful with those kind of issues if you want to implement something in your application. Overall, I have positive feelings about it, but as you saw, for particular cases, you may deal with this kind of errors from the model. But it's what it is. It's something that we want to improve over time. However, if you want to learn how to implement this, but using OpenAI API, for example, you have my video about how to integrate it in your iOS application. That's all for me, and remember, there are more videos about foundation models. And if I found a way to fix this, of course, I will create a video and I will keep you posted about my progress. That's all for me. Remember, my name is Pete, and this is Ifan Tips. Thanks for watching, and have a great day.